Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to try to introduce Ghoti to the channel by going through the archetype as a whole, introducing the cards to everybody, and kind of go over what the goal of the deck is and kind of just show you guys what kind of cards you might see in a Ghoti deck, because there's a lot of in-archetype stuff, but there's also a lot of random looking out of archetype stuff, and I want to explain to you why those cards are played typically, so that you can try to build the deck yourself. And I'm going to also be trying to build the deck myself. I'm going to show a couple builds in a upcoming videos, one pure Ghoti list and one runic Ghoti list, but we're going to go ahead and do that stuff later. First, we need to actually learn the archetype, learn what these cards are going to do. It's not a new deck, but it did get new cards in Phantom Nightmare, and those cards actually bump up the deck's power level by quite a bit. So I do want to actually go through and learn everything, right? Because I actually think this deck is popular. It's getting more and more popular, so I want to be ahead of the curve. And then also it has a decent matchup into fire. It's not that bad if you can actually resolve your stuff. You can probably beat any deck. When you could say that about a lot of combo decks, but still, we're gonna go ahead and talk about the Ghoti deck itself and see where we get. Okay, so we're gonna start with the in-archetype main deck stuff, and with the heart and soul of the deck are gonna be these three cards here. So these three cards are level 2 tuners, and basically all three of them allow you to quick synchro on your opponent's turn. We're going to start with Paces. Okay, Paces, Light of the Ghoti. So Paces is a card that can banish itself from the field to summon a fish from your hand. On the next standby phase, it comes back to the field, and then during your opponent's main phase, you can quick effect synchro. And you'll notice a theme with this deck: everything comes back when it gets banished. And then we have Shift, which is very similar. During your turn, you can banish it from the graveyard, right, to increase the attack of a monster on the field. That effect is, like, the actual attack increase is not very relevant typically, but the point is Shift can banish itself from the graveyard, right? And then just like Paces, Shift will come back during every standby phase, right? So, and then also it's a quick effect synchro monster, or synchro summon on your opponent's turn during your opponent's main phase. So basically, by using Paces and Shift, getting them banished, they'll summon themselves back out to your field during your opponent's standby phase, and then during your opponent's main phase, you'll be able to synchro summon twice. And then we have Zep. Zep is a little bit different from these guys, where Paces and Shift come back during the standby phase automatically. Zep will come back out immediately when it's banished, which is good and bad. Like, it allows you to hold your monster for a little bit until you're ready to use it, but it also requires you to have a way to quick effect banish, and there are in-archetype ways to do that, so that's good. But Zep, when it's also a quick effect synchro, but it's only right when it's summoned. Okay, it's a trigger effect on summon to synchro. So basically, by using Paces, Shift, and Zep, we have three ways to quick effect synchro on our opponent's turn, and that's really the whole core of the strategy. But really, these are not starters. They're like engine pieces, right? They are just things we need to get going beforehand. So we have to kind of go through all of the engine before we can talk about how we're going to get these going on, okay? Let's talk about three more main deck monsters for the Ghoti archetype. So we're going to start with Snopios. Snopios came out in, which set was this? Darkwing Blast, alongside these other guys, or no, just alongside Zep here. Snopios is a quick effect: banish 2 fishes from your hand or graveyard to summon itself, okay? And if we remember with Zep, right when it's banished summons itself back, and then you can quick synchro. So Snopios pairs with Zep, essentially. So whenever we have Zep in rotation, we'd also like to get Snopios in rotation, because we can banish the Zep with the Snopios, summon the Snopios, and then Zep will come back and we can quick synchro with at least a level 6 and a 2. And then when Snopios is banished, we can add it back to our hand by banishing another fish. Let's move on to the other main deck Ghoti stuff. we have both of the Phantom Nightmare cards, okay? So we're gonna start with Seeks. This is a level 6. When it's banished, it summons itself back to the field by banishing a fish, okay? And then on summon, you can search a fish and then banish a fish, okay? So essentially what this allows you to do is search one of these guys from your deck and then banish it immediately. So if you can summon out Seeks, it will be able to find the other tuners that you're missing and get those into the banish zone for you. This is actually a super powerful addition to the deck. This is the best card for the deck out of Phantom Nightmare for sure. But then we also have Keef, okay? Keef, also known as SP Littlefish. It's another version kind of like these, where this will summon itself back out during every standby phase after it's banished, but it's not a tuner. But it does have an effect where you can target a monster your opponent controls and a monster you control and banish them. So it's a lot like SP Little Knight, okay? So go ahead and read over Keef. It's an interesting piece of interruption, but it's not really it doesn't really further your engine much, okay? It just provides a little bit of addition to the pieces you have available to you. Great. Okay, so these are essentially all of the relevant main deck Ghoti cards. We also have other ones like Eonok and Ixip, but these cards are not very good, honestly. You can read over them. Make sure you read every card in every archetype that you're trying to learn, but essentially, these cards interact with Ghoti trap cards, which do exist, but they're not very good in my opinion, so these are typically not played. That's it for the Ghoti main deck monsters. And there's a problem. We have no starters. We have no way to get things going. That's because our starter is actually in the extra deck. The starter is Arianpos. This is a level 6 synchro that on summon banishes a fish from your deck. So if we can summon Arianpos, we can banish a tuner that we're missing. And then we have a level 6 on field and a level 2 tuner coming back during our opponent's turn. And that's great. And that's why all of the main deck tech cards that you typically see with this deck are ways to summon Arianpos. They are all engines to summon level 6 synchros, okay? So that's basically all that the deck really tries to cram in alongside these tuner pieces of engine, right? There are ways to summon Arianpos because the entire deck revolves around this card, okay? Once we have Arianpos going, we have the 2 synchros that we're going to want to quick synchro into on our opponent's turn. So we're going to start off with Ascan, the Bicorn Ghoti. This is like a scrap dragon, okay? When it's summoned, you can banish a fish on your side and a card on your opponent's field, okay? But it also has some recursion. And I should add, we'll get to it eventually, Arianpos has recursion as well. When these cards get banished or are used as synchro material, they're able to kind of either summon themselves back out in terms of Ascan. Ascan can re-summon itself, which is nice because we want to synchro climb. And then Arianpos can search, okay? So we do have ways to kind of replenish the hand and replenish the field, but we have to get all of our synchro plays going. And then our main boss is Ghoti of the Deep Beyond. Okay, this is a level 10 synchro. On summon, it banishes the entire field, your field and your opponent's, and then this thing will come back to your field during the next standby phase, and it gains 500 attack per banished monster, and that includes yours and your opponent's. So if you go through your whole combo, will usually have access to about 5 banished monsters, and we're trying to summon these things to interrupt our opponent, and chances are we're hitting our opponent's monsters too. So this thing will be huge, and you can actually, in the normal combo, summon this thing twice in the same turn, and it's not a once per turn, right? So we can actually double banish the entire field, which is incredible. We also have one more synchro monster that's not played. It's called Gwoglim, Spear of the Ghoti. So this card has a battle phase effect where you can attack a monster and then banish it, and then it can summon back out its synchro materials. So you can kind of loop back you can tag out essentially into your Ghoti cards again using this card. But typically we don't summon this. If we want to banish a monster, we can just summon Ascan instead and not have to go through the whole battle phase thing with Gwoglim. So it's an option. You can certainly play one of them, but typically it's not very popular. And then there's one more in archetype card that I want to talk about, and that is the field spell, the most distant, deepest depths. Okay, so from what I've seen, a lot of players are kind of like back and forth about this card, but essentially what it does is you can banish a fish from your hand and then search another fish. So it kind of does what you want to do, which is banish your tuners, right? And then kind of replenish your hand. But like we said, like searching these cards is not very good. Like, we don't need them in our hand, we need them banished, right? So this is kind of just a means to banish things and not necessarily a way. Like, we don't care too much about the search, even though it seems good and seems good for consistency. Like, honestly, it's not that needed even in the pure Ghoti builds, but you can play it. That rounds out the actual Ghoti cards, the Ghoti archetype. We still have a problem. We still don't have starters. We need ways to get into Arion Post. We need ways to play if our Arion Post gets stopped. So let me introduce to you the tech cards that are typically played in this deck and talk to you about why they are played. We're going to start with the normal summons of the deck. Like, we don't really want to normal summon these tuners, but we can, right? And if we normal summon a tuner, well, we basically need to have a special summon level 4 to get into our Arion Post. Just remember, everything we're playing is revolving around summoning out our level 6 synchros. So worst case, we don't have any cool normal summon starters. We just normal summon a tuner and we require an extra level 4 extender. So our typical option is something like Silent Angler, which can summon itself if you control a water monster. And then you just go ahead and synchro these two into Arion Post, and that's about it. You can play other stuff similar to Silent Angler. You could play like Silent Sea Nettle, Tinny Spirit Shithana. Like, typically water level 4 extenders or special summons are going to be pretty common. Okay, and we'll get into some of the other fancier options for that extra special summon, but typically things like Silent Angler are going to be the most popular. But what if we don't want to summon this tuner, right? We want to have a better normal summon than that. Well, we have this card, Lifeless Leaffish. Okay, Lifeless Leaffish is a monster that can on-summon Foolish Burial a fish from your deck. So the point of Lifeless is to Foolish the Shift, because Shift is a card that can banish itself from the graveyard to give one of your monsters attack boost. So we can go ahead and Leafless, Foolish the Shift, banish itself to increase Leaflish attack by 500, and then in the next standby, Shift will come back and we'll have a quick synchro play into Arion Post. Okay, so even if we don't get into Arion Post on our turn, we can still get into it on our opponent's turn, which is still okay because Arion Post will then be able to send the Ruby. Even in the main phase, Ruby will come back, and then we have at least a level 8 quick synchro with the Arion Post, and we can keep going. So Leaffish is essentially the simplest one card starter that the deck has. What are the other options? We have Aloof Lupine. Okay, Aloof Lupine is a monster that was typically played in the Thunder Dragon strategy, right? It allows you to banish a monster from your hand and then banish a monster with the same type from your deck. So essentially this allows you to banish 2 fishes at once. Like, hopefully, ideally, in your hand you have Paces or Shift, and then a Lupine will banish that, and then you banish the other one from your deck. But unlike Leaffish, it does require you to pair it with something. Like, you already have to have a fish in your hand, and you can't just have Lupine as a 1 card starter. It's like a 1.5 card starter. So also a downside to Lupine is it's not a fish type monster, which is kind of inhibiting when it comes to some of your recirculation effects like Ascon and Snopios. They all require you to banish fishes from your graveyard to get their recursion effects, and Lupine will not contribute to that material, unfortunately. So that is a little bit of an issue and a little bit of a downside to playing Lupine. Besides Leaffish and Lupine, we have this other engine that's popularly played, which is Supe Duskwalker plus a Supe. So Supe Duskwalker is it's a fairly simple level 6 synchro engine where you can reveal this and discard a card from your hand, special summon the Supe Duskwalker and summon a Supe from your deck, which is just a level 1 tuner effectively, so then we have a setup for a level 6 synchro. And the nice thing about it is it doesn't require any normal summons, so if your leaf fish gets stopped, for example, we can try to go Supe into, we can try to go Duskwalker into Supe and continue on into the Arion post, and that will let us play through interruptions. However, it does burn through your hand quite a bit, and it's very susceptible to Ash Blossom. Like if you get ashed on Supe Duskwalker, you're kind of toast, unfortunately, because you've lost your discard, and you might not have any other further plays. Plus, you have to play a brick in Supe in your deck. So it's up to you on the risk you want to take in playing this package, but it's just an option. And then I have one more package I want to talk about when it comes to the level 6 synchro packages. We have a new package out of Phantom Nightmare, which is the white fish package. We have white reincarnation, white sunfish, and white sardine. This is just another, similar to Supe Duskwalker, another level 6 synchro package where sardine and sunfish can summon each other out, and then you get into a level 6 of material. And then one more package actually that I have not mentioned because I don't actually own those cards is the Earthbound package. So the new cards out of, what's that, was it Maze Millennia, actually has a, similar to Supe Duskwalker and Supe, just like a 2-card level 6 synchro engine. A few more tech cards that I want to talk through here before I show you kind of the main combo, just to close out the video, is going to be some other ways to summon monsters when all we have is tuners. All we have is our Ghoti package. So let's say we just have a shift and we normal summon it. What are some other monsters we can use? Well, we have Ready Fusion and Instant Fusion, which is my personal favorite package with this deck. Ready Fusion and Instant Fusion can both summon out a copy of Rare Fish from your extra deck, and then boom, we have a level 6 synchro. Why do I like this so much? Well, even if we don't have Shift, let's say we're instead playing Lifeless Leaf Fish, right? Ready Fusion and Instant Fusion are still access to a level 6 synchro because of Alvain. Okay, Alvain is just a level 2 tuner that we can summon out with either of these. So basically, Ready Fusion and Instant Fusion are access to whatever half of the synchro equation that we need. So those are super cool techs, I think, especially for the pure deck, the pure Ghoti deck, because they combo with both your starters and your normal engine to get you to Arion posts, and it's just super clutch play. Just like we have Ready Fusion to summon out our fusion from our extra deck if we have Shift, we also have an entire deck that can do that. Runic, okay? We have the Runic cards, and this is why Runic is typically paired with Ghoti, because if all we need is a level 2 tuner, plus any Runic spell will get us into Jerry, and then we can go ahead and go into Arion post from there. So that's kind of a cool package. We also have cards like Hugin to pair with the Cupid Pitch and Hopier Squadron. These are all Runic specific techs, where if we have the Shift plus the Hugin instead of a Jerry, we can go into Cupid Pitch, a level 4 synchro, right? And then we can go ahead and use another Runic spell now to summon Jerry. Cupid Pitch makes itself a level 2, and now Cupid Pitch plus Jerry equals the Arion post, and Cupid Pitch, when it's used as synchro material, will be able to search us a Hopier Squadron, which is yet another quick synchro effect. Okay, so it's a whole kind of cool new package that you can play specifically in the Runic decks just because of your access to Cupid Pitch with all of the level 2 monsters, the level 2 non-tuners that Runic is going to bring to the table, particularly Hugin, right? It's just a cool tech that I want to talk about, and we're going to close this out with one final tech card, which I think is so cool. I love it when normally non-engine cards are engine or can be used as engine. We're talking about crossout designator, right? Okay, so crossout, typically we're stopping hand traps, but let's say our opponent doesn't have hand traps, we have dead crossout designator in hand. No, we can crossout, call the tuners. We can send the tuners, or we can send the Keef, right? And that's because it's negated till the end of the turn, But these guys, when they're banished, it doesn't matter how they got banished, right? They will come back during the next standby. So we can cross out as engine to get our tuners banished. And I think that is super cool way to play, and just like an interesting extender slash non-engine at the same time. I love crossout designator in this particular deck, and I think it's super cool to be able to play that, right? All right, now we're gonna go through the combo one time. Now that we've shown all of the cards that would be, or all the primary cards that are relevant to the Ghoti deck, we're gonna go ahead and show the bread and butter combo to get a double full field banish with the Ghoti of the Deep Beyond. Now we're going to use everything we just learned to go through our bread and butter combo and see what we can get to, okay? And this will include the new Phantom Nightmare cards, and will really demonstrate how it improves the capabilities of this deck, because they are a huge upgrade to the deck, and we'll be able to see that, right? So we're going to go ahead and show just our combo is going to start with Paces plus a Silent Angler, just as access to a level 6 synchro, of course the Arion Post. This combo is the exact same no matter which way you want to access Arion Post. If you want to do it with Supe Dusk Walker plus Supe, that's fine. Same thing if you want to do it with Sardine plus Sunfish, that's fine. This is all going to be the same because we're not adding anything before we get into that Arion Post, right? So let's go ahead and show it off. Normal summon the Paces, special summon the Angler, and then Synchro 6. Okay, and this is how we're going to start off most of our turns. Here we go, Arion Post. Arion Post effect. On summon, remember it banishes a fish from our deck. We're going to banish our new Seeks, right? We're going to banish that from our deck. When Seeks is banished, it can summon itself back out by banishing a fish from our graveyard. And this is going to allow us to get our first tuner banished, okay? So now we have Paces set up to come back during our opponent's standby phase. Seeks, when it's summoned, searches a fish and then banishes a fish. So we're going to search and banish the other tuner. Whichever tuner this was, it doesn't matter. We're going to search and banish the other one. So if this was Shift, we're going to do it to Paces, and if this was Paces, which it is, we're going to search and banish the Shift here, okay? And now we pass turn, end phase. This is it. This is our end board, and this is why the deck is a little confusing, because you're like, well, what are we doing here, right? Why? Well, how is this deck competitive? Well, all of the action comes on our opponent's turn. Okay, so we're gonna start off standby phase, summon back out our two tuners. Cool. The Silent Angler's in the grave. Now, what do we get to do? We are going to wait for our opponent to summon something that we want to banish. Okay, or place on the field. You know, this could be like a branded regain, this could be a Tearlaments Scream, or the Fire King Island or something like that. We're gonna wait till they do something that we want to banish, and then when that happens, we're gonna go ahead and synchro with one of our two quick synchro tuners, right? So we're gonna go ahead and in this case use Shift to synchro off with the Arion Post into the Oscon. Okay, Oscon has an on-summon effect to target one fish you control and one card your opponent controls and banish both. Arion Post, when it goes to the grave as synchro material, lets you banish a fish from your grave and search fish with the same level or lower. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and go Oscon 1 and Arion Post 2, or if our opponent doesn't have anything on field that can negate, then we're gonna go Arion Post 1, Oscon 2 to play around the Ash Blossom, right? So, anyways, Arion Post, let's go ahead and resolve that. We're gonna banish the Shift so it's ready for next turn, and we're gonna search a level 2 or lower fish. And now we are going to go ahead and get our Zep to the hand, and then Oscon will resolve. We're gonna banish the Seeks and banish or whatever our opponent has that we want to get rid of, right? So, good. Chain resolves. New chain, Seeks. When it's banished, we did this last turn, we're gonna do it again. When it's banished, we can special summon it out by banishing a fish from the graveyard. We can do that with either Angler or Arion Post, it's not gonna matter. So let's go ahead and banish Angler for fun. Great. Now on summon, Seeks can search a fish, banish a fish. So we're gonna go ahead and search a copy of Snopios. which is our quick effect, banish 2 to summon, and then we're going to banish a fish. What do we want to banish? Do we want to banish the Zep right now? Because if we do that, it's going to summon itself out and we're going to be forced to quick synchro right away. Probably not. So we're just going to banish the Seeks. It's going to banish itself, and that's totally fine. We don't need that level 6 material anymore. We certainly want to keep our level 2 on field because it's a quick synchro, and we want to keep our level 8 on field because that level 8 quick synchro with the level 2 is going to be our Deep Beyond, okay? Next, what do we want to do? We just banished one of our opponent's cards. We're going to wait for our opponent to commit stuff, okay? We're going to let him put stuff on the field. Whenever we're ready, we're going to activate Paces to synchro. And we're going to go ahead, Paces plus Oscon to synchro into Ghoti of the Deep Beyond. And if you remember, this is a full field banish. We're going to banish the everything our opponent has, anything we might have set. Make sure we get rid of that first, right? And then we're going to go ahead. It's going to also banish the Deep Beyond. This comes back during the next standby phase, just like the level 2 tuners. And now it's an empty board for both players. So what do? What if our opponent can play through that? We still have a huge play. We still have a huge play to go, okay? Whenever we're ready, whenever our opponent maybe commits some more cards, maybe set some cards to pass turn, Snopios. Activate Snopios, banish 2 fishes from hand or grave to summon itself, okay? So let's go ahead and activate that. We're gonna banish our Zep, and we're gonna banish our Oscon to summon the Snopios. Now, 2 cards are gonna activate. Oscon, it was banished. We can summon itself back out by banishing another fish from our grave. So we're gonna be able to banish our tuner to get that back in rotation for next turn to summon out the Oscon. And then Zep will also activate to summon itself. Okay, so Zep will come back. Oscon will come back, and now on summon, Zep is able to synchro summon. So we're going to go ahead and be able to synchro these again for another level 10 synchro. I don't have a second Deep Beyond on me right now, so I'm just going to show that we can summon another one, and Deep Beyond again will banish the entire field, including our Snopios. So now coming back next turn, we're going to have double Deep Beyond plus 2, both of our tuners, right? And then one more thing that gets to activate right when we banished our whole field, including the Snopios. Snopios can activate when it gets banished. We can add itself back to hand by banishing 1 fish from our grave. So we're going to go ahead and banish that Arion Post, the first Arion Post, and leave our Oscon and Zep in the graveyard because we're going to add this back to our hand. And we just did this combo where Snopios banished Zep and Oscon to get a quick level 10 synchro. We have that entire thing set up again. So that whole combo ended with a double board wipe, double board banish, non-targeting anything. We also had a single card banish with Oscon, wherever that is, here. And then we have 2 copies of Deep Beyond plus 2 tuners coming back during our standby phase. Like that's almost guaranteed game. Like, we have so much gas, okay? So that's really the main combo that Ghoti is going for. But if we rewind, like, all of that gas is very fragile because it all revolves around Arion Post resolving. It all revolves around that. Like, if Arion Post gets negated, we have Arion Post in grave plus Paces and Silent Angler. We have Arion Post on field plus Paces and Silent Angler in grave, and we are just cooked. Okay, the only bright light possibly is if we had Shift instead of the Paces. Shift can banish itself. Okay, and then we at least have the level 8 access on our opponent's turn. So we do have an option there. But if it's just Paces, unless we have more extenders or more way to banish stuff, we're gonna be kind of cooked, if Arion Post gets stopped. So just keep that in mind. So that's gonna wrap it up for today. It was a long one. I appreciate you guys for sticking through it. If you're still here, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you want some more Ghoti content, because I will be putting out 2 deck profiles for Ghoti. 1 runic, 1 pure. I don't know which order that'll come in, but they'll be here. Okay, so let me know what you guys thought of this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. We'll see you later.